And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Tuesday, April 15th. First of all, happy tax day, everybody. I did mine yesterday. Also, happy playoffs-ish. Might not be the playoffs for real, but we got the play in today. 2 games, Atlanta, 5-point dogs in Orlando, Memphis, 7-point dogs at Golden State. We're here. We're back. All the stupid stuff is over. It's over. We don't have to worry about it anymore. All the dumb rotations and the fake players. While that was awesome for making money, those are better slates for people that use our stuff. We can now get back to just legitimately talking about the NBA. I'm very, very happy today. I've been desperately waiting for this. Apologies if I'm shaking this in the microphone. Poured some Gatorade powder in this bad boy. Oh, guys, this is exciting stuff. We got a lot to talk about. I'm going to break it all down. We are going to take our time. And we got a lot of other stuff going on today. I mean, we've got like a billion shows. Truly. Like a billion shows. So let's talk about the schedule for the rest of today first. Aton is doing a live portfolio EV show right now on OddsShopper. Lofty is going to be doing a solo MLB strategy show immediately after this show. Laffy and Ben are doing a portfolio EV show at 1 o'clock on the OddsShopper channel. The NHL strategy show is here at 2 o'clock. Bellman and EMAC are on MLB Live Before Lock tonight at 5:30. I'm live with Eric tonight at 6:30 for NBA Live Before Lock. And then I'm live solo style at 7:30 for an hour watching the game on playback. That is where we stand for the rest of today. Greg's on vacay, so no Greg. That's what we got going on today. And now I think we need to do the most important thing we can do, which is legitimately break down this slate. I've been waiting to do it for a while. I got something fun planned in about a half hour. We'll do that in a bit. But for right now, let's break it all down. Atlanta Hawks, 5-point dogs in Orlando, 216 total. I think that's a testament to Atlanta. I'm a little surprised that's as high as it is. From an injury perspective, we don't have anything here. Atlanta is at full strength for what we're used to. Orlando's at full strength for what we're used to. Obviously, no like Jalen Suggs and stuff, but no Q tags or anything. We're not waiting on anything here. We just kind of have it. On the season, the Atlanta Hawks had a net adjusted rating of -0.3. And since the All-Star break, it has climbed pretty considerably. They had, kind of bottomed out a little bit at the break at like -3.5. And down the stretch, they got it back up to basically neutral. Orlando, on the other hand, is going to have a very different shape to their season. Orlando obviously looked a little bit better at different times, peaking in December, cratered before February when they were hitting all those injuries, and then ended up finishing up positive 0.7. And they were, finding a little bit of steam towards the end of April. Obviously, no Suggs is pretty problematic. So, pretty similar teams right now. And I think that's why you see the line slight favorite to Orlando. I think they got the better top two. And I think that's why you see it the way that we see it right now. Now, as a reminder, pretty much anybody that we think is playing today is viable because we only have 4 teams worth of players. So that will affect things. As of right now, Caris LeVert is the highest ranked guy that we have coming out of our boom bust tool. He ranks 6th. And then we get to Trey Young at 10, Onyeka Okongwu at 11, Dyson Daniels at 13, and then we get a bunch of guys in the 20s, which I'm not super shocked by. Let's start at the tippy top here. 9,100 for Trey Young, point guard only. We got him in for basically 40 minutes. You tend to see increased minutes here in these playing games, no different than any sort of like really important game. Because if you win here, 1, you're just in. You don't have to play again. You get, 5 more days off. 2, you don't have to avoid the opportunity of losing a second game and then just getting bounced completely. Now, no matter who loses this game, they will host the next game. But ultimately, got to get that dub. So you're going to get big minutes out of these guys. Don't forget about that. Now, if we want to talk Trey, I think he looks solid. I don't have too much of a take on him. Maybe we can dig into that as we go here. But 32% optimal, 32% owned, 31% of my lineups on my first sim. Not a lot to really think about there. It just looks really solid. In terms of pay-ups for today, I guess it's probably helpful to do that sort of discussion. For context, at least. Paolo Banchero is your most expensive player on today's slate at 9,500. Steph is second on DraftKings at 9,300. Trey is third at 9,100. And these are all guys that are pretty similarly owned. Speaking of ownership, just to hit on it from a FanDuel side, Caris LeVert ranks 8th, second highest owned guy, but highest rank. Dyson Daniels ranks 10th. Okongwu 11, Trey 18 here. And then you get the rest of these guys laying in that mid-20s range. So we just got to think about, what kind of matchup do we actually have here for Trey Young? And, it's an okay one. It would be way worse if Jalen Suggs were still available. But, on the year, Orlando defense, middle of the pack in isolation defense. Let's see how they did as going up against pick and roll ball handlers. Okay, 2, 4, 6. Okay, so they were 8th on the season in points per possession allowed to pick and roll ball handlers. I have to assume that it's lower than that right now. Like, if we're talking about what the trend is there's no way that it's better now with no Suggs. So, you figure they're like an average team against the pick and roll. Let's see, do they foul a lot in the pick and roll? They do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are the 6th worst team. God, I can't even talk. In free throw frequency to the pick and roll ball handler. I was on offense. When I switched from ISO to pick and roll ball handler, it switched from defense to offense. Let me say that all again. All right. No, I was right. We're good. No, they don't foul a lot. They were 8th best. Okay, very different. Very different. Orlando does not foul the pick and roll ball handler frequently. Good to know. So yeah, I'd say this is like an average at best spot for Trey Young's play style. Which means that on a day like today, if you're playing multiple lineups, you're probably chilling in the around his ownership range. I'm going to work through the starters. We're going to hit on all of this. Dyson Daniels. Let's think about Orlando from a turnovers perspective. How often do they cough up the ball? On the year, Orlando 20th in turnover percentage. Does Suggs turn the ball over a lot? Because if he doesn't, that's going to be even worse. He does, 21st percentile. So he does cough the ball up a little bit. But a bit of a good spot for Dyson Daniels. You know, Orlando doesn't exactly hold on to the ball perfectly. And then Okongwu, 7,500, center only, 30% optimal. This is the same for Daniels, too, and Trey Young. I mean, you can see it on the screen. 30% optimal for the three best dudes in Young, Daniels, and Okongwu. 30% owned as well. They rank 10, 11, 13. So from the starters, the guys that are going to play like massive minutes, they all look basically the same. You know, Okongwu, you kind of know what you're going to get out of him. You're going to get elite rebounding, some blocks, some steals. Hopefully those rebounds are offensive rebounds, not defensive rebounds. Now, the problem here, Orlando 13th in offensive rebounding and 4th in defensive rebounding. Not exactly the best spot for Okongwu on the boards. So if that scares you at all, you know, if we're trying to just glean every little bit we can, every little angle, just to talk it through, it isn't the best rebounding matchup. Now, maybe from a defensive rebounding standpoint, it's a little better. You know, that's where Orlando, mid-tier offensive rebounding team, but terrible shooting team. So we should expect technically more misses. Maybe that's a sneaky benefit for Okongwu on the defensive boards. So those three guys stand there. The next guy we want to talk about is the guy that's pulling the most ownership. It's 4,800 shooting guard, small forward, Caris LeVert. We have him 43% optimal, 33% owned. He ranks 6th. He's in 54% of my stuff. Highest owned guy I have from Atlanta. Really like him here. I just think he's underpriced for the role. We saw in these last few games, we saw Caris LeVert get 30 minutes on the 11th when they desperately wanted to win. He played 30 on the 8th. He played 28 on the 6th. He's been the guy that's been getting a bit of a boost in minutes. And I think that's going to continue. I think they're going to need his creation. They don't have a ton of it. It's really Trey Young and him and nothing else. I think they're going to need that, especially against Orlando, somebody to create their own shot. So with that said, we got him in for 29 and a half minutes. Assuming that holds, he's just a really good value. You get great positional flexibility. You get an outstanding minutes projection, a salary that probably doesn't support that minutes projection either. And on FanDuel, same thing. Is he a little bit more expensive? Yeah, he's 5,500. However, still 35% owned, still one of the 3 most owned guys on Atlanta. The rest of these guys is where it gets tough. You know, you're getting 25% ownership to Risa Shea. You're getting 40 to Muhammad Gay. I don't think Mo Gay looks that good. You're getting 25 to Terrence Mann. And then you're getting sub 10% to Vit Krejci and George Niang. I'm not a big fan of the rest of these guys from Atlanta for a couple of reasons. One, I don't have a great feel for who's going to get the minutes. They could very easily cut one of Niang, Krejci, Mann, Gay, or Risa Shea and redistribute those minutes and make all of those guys look better. They are not beholden to any bit of this rotation. 2, it doesn't matter which one of those guys are actually getting the minutes. I assume this is going to be a little hot handy. whoever's playing well is probably going to fall into 4, 5, 6 extra minutes. So I would say like the range of outcomes for minutes for Risachet is 16 to 28. Terrence Mann, 16 to 28. George Niang, so it's 16 to 24. Mo Gay, 10 to 20, 10 to 30. So it's tough. And right now, I'm fading most of them. Barely got Risachet. Barely got Mo Gay, who's the highest owned guy on the team. Barely got Terrence Mann, also pretty heavily owned. Do I have any confidence that like this is going to hold here? No, of course not. Of course not. I love my wife, 007. Yeah, he's been a completely different player for like the last year and a half. He's good. He's like a bit above average. It's just like that's a $25-30 million player now. A year, I mean. What do you guys like from Atlanta here today? Outside of Trey and Daniels and Okongwu, and to me, LeVert. What do you like in that Risachet, Mo Gay, Terrence Mann, Krejci, Niang, that sort of group? What do you guys like there? While I hop over here to Odd Shopper in the Portfolio EV tool, find us no Atlanta bets. Lame. We'll find some more later on, maybe when we get to Orlando. Like from an ownership perspective, I do find somebody like George Niang interesting. Gary Bailey says Niang. Like if the shot's falling, if they need more offense and they're going stretchy and they want to get somebody out there bombing away, $3,200 Niang is more interesting to me than like Krejci, because Niang's a better per minute guy. He's a similar per minute guy to Risachet, but he's $1,100 cheaper. I think Niang is the guy that could potentially fall into the most minutes. Part of me would like to get Mo Gay, but 40% ownership feels pretty damn high. Let's see. What's chat saying? Mohammed says Terrence Mann. Steven says man, but he hates it. Gary said Niang. I love my wife. 007 says nobody. Lee likes the Memphis and Golden State back end guys. Anthony's talking Mo Gay. SD saying Niang. Taos saying Niang. Niang's the one that's most interesting to me if the ownership holds. Because on a day like today, to get somebody like that who legitimately can get a couple extra minutes in a spot like this. Remember, Orlando leans big. Maybe they try to size up a little bit more and go to a bigger set with Niang. Just to go through my exposures from my sim, the guy that I got the most was Caris LeVert at 54%. Next up was Okongwu at 38. Then Trey and Dyson Daniels both at 30. And then 15% of Mo Gay, less than half the field. 4% of Risachet, which is like 10% of the field. 4% of Mann, 3% of Niang, 0 shares of Vit Krejci. I'd like to get to more Niang at that point. Michael Wallace, glad you're here. So that's what we got here for Atlanta right now. For reference sake, they are the second most owned team. Golden State is at the top. Atlanta second. Orlando third. Memphis fourth. But like everybody's pretty owned. All right, hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we got a lot going on. We got sims for everything. You can get them for free for a month. Link in the description. sign up through any one of our partners at a sportsbook or a pick'em site, you get a month of whichever sport package you want of sims. You want the NBA sims for the next month from April 15th to May 15th? Cover this first set of the playoffs, you can get them for free. If you've never signed up at one of those sportsbooks or pick'em sites, this is going to cost you nothing. Projections, ownership, boom bust, all the data that I'm talking about on the show, along with our full simulation package on the back end. So let's talk through Orlando. Unsurprisingly, the largest amount of ownership is coming into Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. Paolo Banchero currently ranks second in our boom bust tool on DraftKings. Franz ranks fifth. Wendell Carter Jr. and KCP are seventh and eighth. That's four guys in the top 10. Let's talk about the main guy here. Paolo Banchero. Got him in for about 40 minutes. 9,500 power forward only. Your most expensive guy. 47% optimal. 49% owned. He's in 52% of my stuff. That's the most of anybody here. He looks great. He looks like the best pay-up option. You know, the usage is north of 30%. The minutes are absolutely there. Atlanta doesn't really have a great matchup for him. You know, Jalen Johnson's not walking through that door, and they could really use him to walk through that door. So we're in a bit of a tricky spot here. I think this matchup is awesome for Paolo Banchero. And I think a lot of that has to do with the reason why I have 50% of them in my lineups. Atlanta was the sixth worst team in defending pick and roll ball handlers this year. I think that's probably a good thing for Paolo Banchero. If we check Paolo Banchero's play type data as the pick and roll ball handler, he ran 6 pick and rolls per game, 0.89 points per possession. Franz was a little bit better points per possession, but they run basically the same amount of pick and rolls as the ball handler. Just out of curiosity, how often do they do it as the roll man? All right. Paolo rolls. Franz is not really the roll man ever. Paolo, 0.97 points per possession as the roll man. That's basically dead neutral. Atlanta against the roll man. Actually, really good against the roll man. Not surprising. Onyeka Okongwu, I guess. Okay. Still liking it there for Paolo. What about the isolation stats for Paolo? Because I think that's what we're going to be looking at a little bit more, since they don't really have anybody that can guard him. So if Paolo's getting the ball in isolation, okay, he averaged 5 isolation possessions per game this year, 0.97 points per possession in isolation. That's about 70th percentile. Franz Wagner, on the other hand, 3 isolation possessions per game, 0.7 points per possession, 18th percentile. So let's take a look at how Atlanta does defensively against isolations. They are they gave up 0.91 points per possession, 55th percentile. Yeah, like middle of the pack. I think this is a really nice spot for Paolo Banchero today. I think he's going to be able to work for his own shot. I don't think Atlanta is properly set up to try to slow him down. I like this spot more for Paolo than Franz. That's not to say that I don't like Franz. 8,500 small forward eligible, 40% optimal, 40% owned, 40% of my lineups. I just slightly like Paolo Banchero more than I like Franz Wagner. I hope that makes some sense. Feels like it should. Oh my God. The Pelicans are finalizing the deal to sign Joe Dumars. Clip this right now. Joe Dumars is going to run this team out of New Orleans. I'm saying it right now. Joe Dumars is coming in here, and this team is going to end up in Vancouver, Las Vegas, Seattle, fucking Mexico, London. But they're going to leave New Orleans. They're going to leave New Orleans. How often does Paolo post up? .2. Really bad at it. Okay, good to know. Muhammad, if a team's going to Vegas, it's the Dallas owners. All right, let's talk about the rest of Orlando. Let's talk about the guy that I'm taking 2 giant stands on Orlando here. I don't know if you guys have noted that on the screen just yet, but this is the team. Like, I've got 50% of KCP. I've got 50% of Wendell Carter Jr. I got a really big stand on these guys. 5,400 center only for Wendell Carter Jr. Got him in for 32 minutes. Could easily play more in this scenario. We've seen it happen recently. Wendell Carter Jr. played 37 minutes on April 8th. That was 3 games ago in terms of playing time for him. And obviously, he didn't really play down the stretch here. Orlando was locked in. I think Wendell Carter Jr. is underpriced for the amount of minutes they're going to play him today. I think he looks pretty damn good. You know, Atlanta's a good rebounding team. That's not ideal. But I got a sneaky suspicion he is like massively underowned. 36% optimal, 18% owned on Wendell Carter Jr. right now. I'm hoping that doesn't move. This feels like a really nice spot to get different. What do you guys think here? You guys with me on Wendell Carter Jr.? I just think like the minutes here are really appealing. Like nothing they've done recently has made me think they want to play John Isaac more, like too much more. They certainly don't seem like they ever want to play Goga Batadze more. So in terms of pay up or in terms of pivots right now, I'm very, very, very interested in Wendell Carter Jr. if he's 18% owned. Just out of curiosity, Wendell Carter Jr.'s PRA today is 22.5. We got him projected for 30 fantasy points. That makes perfect sense to me. 5.6x value. Looking good at center. And then KCP. Do I like this? Hell no. Because he's KCP. But he's 3,800. He's shooting guard only. The whole starting lineup is only their position. Nobody has an MPE. But he's shooting guard only, 3,800. Even as a shitty per minute guy, he's a good value today. But only 18% owned. Now, we have his PRA is like 14, basically. Got him at 22 fantasy points. Maybe he's a hair over projected. 34% optimal, 18% owned. I'm expecting 36 minutes out of KCP in a game like this. And if that's the case, he's great value. Kyle asked, Wendell Carter Jr. solid. Isn't Edey going to have a similar boost later in the night, though, at center? I am very nervous about Zach Edey. He has the ability to get played clean off the floor here. This is a really bad matchup against Golden State. Steph Curry is going to do everything in his power to put him in anything to get him out on the floor. And if that's the case, if they're keeping Edey in a drop, Steph Curry's going to shoot a billion threes. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a big Buddy Hield day if Zach Edey's out there. But we'll talk about that later. For now, I want to talk KCP, Wendell Carter Jr., two of my biggest stands on the day over the field. Love Paolo, love Franz. Corey Joseph's out there. I assume he's playing low 20s minutes. He's fine. Complete 15%er. Nobody that I want to dig into. Just a guy you get to. Anthony Black, however, 24% owned. We only got him at 8% optimal. Not looking good at all to me. Wildly overowned, at least at this rate. Not entirely sure I see this one. John Isaac, same scenario. 15% owned. We have him 10% optimal. To me, a little overowned. However, if you're ever going to play John Isaac more minutes, now's the time they're going to do that. Although with no Mo Wagner here, I don't love it as much. I like that 4-5 combo. If they are going to John Isaac, I hope it's just more at the 5, playing alongside Paolo or Franz at the 4. I think that could be interesting. They just don't have the guards to support it. I can't really justify Cole Anthony, although obviously there's a ceiling. And then there's no way you're going to Gary Harris, Goga, Jet Howard, Caleb Houston. Big takeaway for Orlando. KCP, Wendell Carter Jr., GPP plays. For FanDuel, basically the same scenario. KCP, Franz, Paolo, Wendell Carter Jr., all in the top 10. Corey Joseph, just a guy. Anthony Black, less owned. Little more interesting. John Isaac, a little more interesting. Only 4K. Okay, guys. We're at the midway point. I got something fun I want to do. I need you guys to hit that like button. Guys, if you're listening right now and you're not watching the show, you might want to watch for a second. We might have some fun. We talk a lot about Odd Shopper and the Portfolio EV tool. Do we have any Orlando bets right now? We got a bunch of them. We got a 3.3% expected value on Wendell Carter Jr. under 9.5 rebounds. Maybe you don't agree with my take for DFS. Maybe you want to bet against him. Paolo, under 29.5 points at NoVig, 3.5% EV. Paolo, under 30.5 points at DraftKings, 3% EV. Couple different Orlando options. Caris LeVert's on here for points now on NoVig. We didn't have any Atlanta options before, but we got a couple Orlandos. We've got mass entries, parlay builders, odds boost calculators, all of the historical data for anything we've ever recommended. That's what this is. That's Odd Shopper and the Portfolio EV tool for sportsbooks and pick'em sites. And there's a link in the description that can get you this tool. However, we're about to talk about Memphis. And we're about to talk about the Grizzlies facing the Golden State Warriors in the play-in. Memphis is here. And they've got a point guard. It's been in the news a bit. So I thought maybe we can do something for you guys and get you guys the Portfolio EV tool in some way. So the promo code is Grenade. GRENADE. The promo code is Grenade. The promo itself, TBD. So if you're paying attention to the stream right now, we're going to spin the wheel. And we're going to find out just how big of a deal you guys are going to get. So you have a couple different options here. You can get $1 for a week. You can get 25% off for a week, 25% off for a month. You can get 50% off a week, 50% off a month. You can get 14 days free, or the big one. It's not on there as much. 21 days free. We don't ever do that, but it is on here. And then there's a couple whammies. You guys could get the you get nothing. So for the Portfolio EV tool at Odd Shopper, for the promo code Grenade, we're about to spin the wheel. I'm going to ask you guys one quick question. Do you want me to take the first spin Or do you want me to spin it once and then take the second spin? Just put 1 or 2 in chat while you're here quick. Do you want me to take the first spin, or do we want to take a practice spin and then take the second? All right. 2 spins, 2 spins, first spin. 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1. Man, that's balanced. I should have ran a poll. All right, I'm running a poll because that's balanced. All right, poll is run. Vote in the poll. I'm gonna spin this in 2 minutes. It's 10:38:40. I'm gonna give it 1 minute of voting. 10:39:40. I'm ending the poll, and that's what answer we're taking to determine the amount of discount we're going to have on the portfolio EV tool for this show. Find the poll, click the voting options. Right now, if you are voting for 2, you are behind, people. 56% of the votes coming into number 1 thus far. Of course, the code is invalid. There is no discount yet. You are not listening. 60-40 to 1. We have 20 seconds left to go. If you're trying to vote for 2, vote faster. You're going to run out of time. It looks like 1 is about to take it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Poll is over. 54%. 1 spin. That's all we get. What will be our discount? Here we go. And your discount for Portfolio EV with the promo code GRENADE is 50% off 1 week of the Portfolio EV tool using the promo code GRENADE. Again, 50% off 1 week of the Portfolio EV tool, promo code GRENADE. Give me 1 second. I'm going to tell Ben, and then it'll go live. Not bad. Not bad. Ooh, Hattori Hanzo. That's a great idea. I will not take this no matter what it is, but for the people that voted 1, this is what you would have gotten if you voted 2. I hope it's 21 days free. You can all suck it. Congratulations. Nothing in life matters. Same shit no matter what. 50% off 1 week. Okay, there's one thing I want to say about this. The link is in the description of this video right now, but I want to explain something to you guys. Again, the promo code is GRENADE. 50% off 1 week. If you've never signed up for the Portfolio EV tool before, you get 1 week free and a week at 50% off. If you've already used Portfolio EV, you just get a week for 50% off. So remember this. If you haven't used it yet, you're getting a free week and then 50% off for a week. So you'd have it for 2 weeks. You'd pay 50% of 1 week as the cost. Just want to make sure that you guys understand what we're talking about here. The promo code is live. I'm adding it to the description of the video right now. Alrighty, guys. Link is in the description of this video. It's also going to get dropped into chat in about 5 seconds, and then we're going to finish this up. News God, not just new subscribers. If you've signed up before, you get 50% off for a week. If you haven't signed up before, you get a free week and 50% off for a week. It's a hell of a deal. All right. Link is in chat. Came from me. And then there's also a link in the description for people that are listening to this on the podcast feed or watching this one later on YouTube and not watching live. All right, that was fun. Now, again, promo code Grenade. Shout out Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies, 7-point underdogs at Golden State, 229 total. We do have Memphis injury news, but it's not Q tags. Jalen Wells is obviously out thanks to KJ Simpson. Brandon Clark is still out. We got one guy from Memphis in the top 10. That was Jaren Jackson at 9. On the FanDuel side, nobody's in the top 10, but they're crushing 11 through 20. Triple J, 7,300, power forward center eligible, 33% optimal, 30% owned. Clearly looks good. Obviously going to get, pretty sizable minutes or as much as he can. Soaks up a ton of usage. Just a really, really good basketball player. He looks great. He's in 30% of my lineups, just spot on with the field. I don't have much of a take on Triple J. He just kind of looks as good as he does. So I don't really have too much to add there. I do want to see, can I? Do they not have that? That's a shame. So the only concern I'd have here for Triple J is on the season, Golden State is average in free throw rate. Obviously, that has gone up since Jimmy Butler has come to Golden State. Bit of a free throw merchant. I don't say that negatively, just is what it is. So, his minutes are going to be highly dependent on foul trouble. But if he's out there, he's a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy. Then we get to the rest of Memphis. Scottie Pippen Jr. ranks 14th. Ja Morant, 15. Desmond Bane, 17. Vince Williams, 19. Zach Edey, 20. That's 5 guys highlighted in blue here, ranked 11 through 20. Now, there are some, like Scottie Pippen Jr., 4,700 point guard only. Because of no Jalen Wells now, I think he's going to play a couple extra minutes. He's a guy I'm a little bit over the field on. I think he's going to be tasked with chasing Steph Curry around a lot. So I like the minutes for Scottie Pippen. Because of no Wells, they feel pretty safe. I don't know how much Vince Williams can play. So I think Scottie Pippen's going to be chasing Steph quite a bit. If that's the case, 27 minutes of Scottie Pippen's going to make him look good. To me, the best option on Memphis for value. Zach Edey, I'm terrified about. This can go many different directions. When he's on and Golden State's playing small, he might just own the boards in a way that can't be stopped. The size might be too much to overcome. Or he's getting put in pick and rolls and he's getting put in situations. I know, because Golden State doesn't run a ton of pick and roll. But if they're getting Edey and he can't get out on the floor and they're just keeping him in a drop, you got to start worrying about shooting. And if that's the case, I think you're going to, at that point, if Golden State is running Draymond at the 5 for 36 minutes, then Triple J is going to go to the 5 and you're going to get a lot more of somebody like Santi Aldama. So I think Santi Aldama and Zach Edey are really anti-correlated today. When Zach Edey's not out there, I think you're getting Triple J and Aldama a lot. When Zach Edey is out there, if it's working, I think that comes at the expense at least a little bit of Santi Aldama. Yeah, John, they're going to do it in situations like this when they can pick their spots, but it's not their natural DNA. They're just going to get it through a lot more motion. I know I understand this, but just to hash it out more for everybody else. So Edey makes me nervous. Massive upside, massive downside. Aldama, only 13% owned. I didn't get a lot yet, but he's a guy that I think has a lot more upside than what his ownership's showing. And then I think Bane is just fine. 25% optimal, 25% owned. Vince Williams is interesting because you get that guard forward eligibility. He's 3,500, but we saw him play 24 minutes in their last game out. With no Wells now, and with this game being massive, can Vince Williams play 30? Do they get him out there for defensive reasons? Can he soak that up and knock down enough shots? I think his playing time is highly variant. We just don't know how much he could be out there. Kennard, I don't think is super interesting here, but certainly a worthwhile flyer if the shots are falling. And it's essentially the same story on FanDuel. You see all that blue? I mean, that's 6 guys from 11 through 20 from Memphis. As far as I can tell, basically the exact same analysis. Zach Edey's 6,800 on FanDuel and 5,700 on DraftKings. Very different price point here. If we want to talk odd shopper bets, Scottie Pippen Jr. under 17.5 PRA has a 4.8% EV on NoVig. Bane under 4.5 assists, plus 110, 3% EV on NoVig. And that's it for Memphis now. We still have a couple of those Orlando options. The Atlanta plays have actually gone away. Give me 1 second. Got it. Sorry. Responding to DMs on the back end about the grenade promo, which will get you 50% off 1 week of the Portfolio EV tool on oddshopper.com. Link in the description. So yeah, that's where I'm at on Memphis. I don't have too much else to add. They're kind of easy to talk about, I think. I think a lot of these guys look pretty similar. I mean, I guess I should touch on the fact that I'm extra light on Ja. I didn't say that, and I probably should. He's 27% owned. We got him 23% optimal. He should be a 25% owned guy, but he appears to be the guy that's falling through the cracks for me the most. And it's not really even coming at the expense of anybody at the top, because I'm also not getting to Steph, and I'm sure you would expect to be getting to Steph. But I'm actually not. Now, I know Ja wants to be running a lot more pick and roll. Ja Morant ran 6.9 pick and rolls per game this season, 0.83 points per possession, 44th percentile. If we take a look at Oklahoma City, why would I even say that? Oh, because they're the top name on the list, and I must have glanced at it. If we take a look at Golden State defending against the pick and roll ball handler, we see a Warriors team that was 6th in defending the pick and roll. And at the very least, you would say they're probably neutral to it post Butler trade. So for me, I think this is a pretty bad spot for Ja Morant. The thing that he wants to do the most is something Golden State shuts down almost better than anybody. So while I don't have a ton of Ja Morant exposure, I don't really mind. I don't love the spot for him. I think this is a tough one against Golden State. I don't think the matchup fits Ja all that well. Just out of curiosity, where does Golden State rank in transition? Because they are old. Because you would expect Ja to be at least active in transition in a game like this. Yeah, 6.5 possessions in transition, 1.05 points per possession. He's actually been not very good in transition. Golden State's defense, actually pretty good in transition this year. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they're 5th in points per possession on defense. Yeah, look, fade Ja. I'm saying it right now. Fade Ja. That's my take. That's my take for today. Ja Morant, not the guy. Matchup doesn't fit. Not the direction you want to go from Memphis. It's not the guy you want. It's not the guy you want. Triple J, Santi Aldama, Pippen, maybe. I don't want Ja. Let's close it out. Golden State. Reminder. Dave Loughran, a.k.a. Laffy. Solo MLB strategy show coming up next. Immediately after this. Let's break down the Golden State Warriors. You've got your number one play of the day on DraftKings right here in Draymond Green. 6,300. Power forward, center eligible. 50% optimal. 50% owned. You've got Brandon Pajemski, 6K. Point guard, shooting guard eligible. 6K. 45% optimal. 45% owned. Ranks third. Jimmy Butler, 8K. Small forward, power forward eligible. 45% optimal. 45% owned. Ranks fourth. Three of the top four plays of the day for Golden State. They look great. You know, we saw these guys get increased minutes last time out. You saw Butler play massive minutes trying to win that game. They're going to do the same thing here today. They want to win this game. They're old. Steph wants the rest. Butler wants the rest. Draymond wants the rest. They want to take a break. They don't want to have to play a second game. So these are going to be big minutes. And that's why we're seeing the ownership and the rankings look like this on those three guys. I have 75% of Draymond. He's the number one guy. I have 70% of Pajemski. I just want a ton. But before we continue, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. And that elephant is the cum bucket. So Steve Kerr pulled the plug on Jonathan Kuminga in game 82, playing for their seeding, trying to get out of the play-in, doing everything they can to win. Jonathan Kuminga never saw the floor. Got to be honest. While I assume that is going to continue, you never know if they're going to break him back out again and he plays 20 minutes and it's all matchup dependent. You got to figure that was like not really well received on Sunday. So if you have Kuminga questions, I don't have Kuminga answers. The only thing that I can say is that I basically didn't project him to play. And part of that is making Draymond look better and Butler look better and Pods look better. It's getting 20% optimal to Moses Moody and 20% optimal to Gary Payton and 20% optimal to, or 10% optimal to Buddy Hield. Tori, yeah, let me hop over to Memphis quickly while I keep talking about Golden State. If they're not putting Jonathan Kuminga out on that floor, then this Golden State rotation is going to consolidate quite a bit. And if that's the case, they're going to look a lot better. Now, admittedly, I didn't get to a ton of Steph. Half the field. It's a giant stand on Pods and Draymond and a lot more of Jimmy Butler. Some Moody, good bit of Payton, little bit of Buddy Hield. I like Buddy Hield here. Gotta say it. I think Buddy Hield looks pretty good. Just not in my lineups just yet. But this Golden State team, man. One, I like getting to a little bit more of the late game. It affords me a little bit more flexibility to move some stuff around for these guys. But I just think some of these Golden State guys get the biggest benefit of minutes. Now, Memphis is pretty good against dribble handoffs. Not going to, get married to that thought process. I mean, they do have, in terms of weakness, they're not great against the pick and roll ball handler. How are the Grizz at defending threes? Great question. I thought I clicked on it. Apparently I didn't. I cannot get this thing to load. Let's open a new tab. One last reminder, portfolio EV tool. Draymond under 6.5 assists, 2.5% EV on NoVig. I can't get cleaning the glass to load, but I am going to load this for right now. Let's build a lineup quickly for DraftKings before I get out of here, before you guys head over to see Lofty break down today's MLB slate. We've got the DraftKings slate pulled up. Large contest, 35% to first. Let's get it done. This is going to be hard. KCP, you're in. Wendell Carter Jr., you're in. Triple J, you're in. Caris LeVert, you're in. I reckon Onyeka Okongwu, you're in. I'm going to use Vince Williams to get... Now I'm going to use Gary Payton to get different. Oops. Yep, there we go. Now I need a point guard and a forward, and I got a lot of salary I can spend. The point guard is going to be Trey Young. The forward is going to be Franz Wagner. First draft, how'd we do? Tori, I will flip the FanDuel for you. Let's go. 76.6%. Knocked it out of the park. Round one. That was Trey Young, KCP, Caris LeVert, Triple J, Wendell Carter Jr., Gary Payton, Franz Wagner, and Onyeka Okongwu. 76% ROI. Tori, should be able to pause that at that point and check out all that FanDuel information. Speaking of FanDuel, I'm going to hop back over and build out this lineup on the FanDuel side before we get out of here. Alrighty. This one's going to not be as easy. Santi Aldama, get in there. Jimmy Butler, get in there. Onyeka Okongwu, get in there. Which is going to leave me out of the Draymond Green sweepstakes. Wendell Carter Jr., I guess, get in there. Let's get Trey. Let's get Moses Moody. Let's get Scottie Pippen. Caris LeVert. Nope, we're going to have to walk that back. Scottie Pippen out. Caris LeVert out. Small forward's going to have to be one of Paolo or Franz. Exact same ownership. Got to be Franz. So then point guard, we're going to need value at either point guard or shooting guard. We are ultra expensive here. If I take KCP, what does that leave me at point guard? It leaves me Scottie Pippen. Perfect. Let's see it. Let's see it. Give it to me. 52.8. I'm gonna tweak it once, and then we're turning over to Lofty. I gotta tweak Franz, and I gotta pay down there somehow and get off of that ownership. So I'm gonna tweak Franz, and I'm gonna drop to Caris LeVert. And then I have 3,400 where I can spend up more. If I get KCP out of there, can I make shooting guard better? I can't get Dyson Daniels. So KCP stays. Can I make a Okongwu better? I can make a Okongwu Banchero. That's still too much ownership. Let's make a Kongwu Franz. 2,500 to upgrade. That's got to be Moses Moody then. And then shooting guard becomes Pods. Where do I upgrade? Is it Wendell Carter Jr.? Do I de-upgrade Pods back down to Moody? And then at center get Draymond? Boy, this is hard. I don't think I have another upgrade here. Oh, I do. I could just go to Paolo. Perfect. Here we go. We got it. We got it. 60%. This is going to be like 96. We got it here. We're leaving on this note one way or the other. 8.7. Will I suck? Take the first one. Guys, thank you for being here. The promo code is Grenade. 50% off a week of the Portfolio EV tool. Link in the description. If you've ever signed up before, you get 50% off for a week. If you've never signed up before, you get a week for free and the 50% off for 1 week. So come on in, click the link in the description. I'll see you guys tonight for Live Before Lock and for Playback. We got play-in games. Everything's good again. Have some fun. Go tell Laffy I said